What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of My Favorite Team Isn't in the Postseason. So I'm going to spend these playoffs actively rooting against the Boston Celtics. As always, I'm your host, Zach Cronin, and today we are going to be doing 2024 NBA playoff predictions. I am recording this on Tuesday. It is about 2:30 Eastern Time, which means that in a few hours, the NBA play-in tournament will officially begin. We have the Western Conference play-in with the Lakers playing the Pelicans and the Kings facing off against the Warriors. So by the time this video goes live, one of these teams will be locked into the seventh seed and playing against the Denver Nuggets in the first round. The play-in it's difficult to talk about because these four teams in the West, at least, these are all phenomenal teams. The Lakers are playing great basketball. The Pelicans were playing great basketball earlier on in the season, but got hit with the injury bug to Brandon Ingram, which tanked their chances of making it out of the play-in and securing a playoff spot. We also have, of course, the Golden State Warriors, who are like the fourth or fifth best team in the league in terms of winning percentage after the All-Star break, and the Sacramento Kings, who on paper are an elite team, but have also been hit by the injury bug. They are going into these playoffs without Malik Monk, who is likely going to be the Sixth Man of the Year winner. However, all four of these teams I would consider playoff teams. Any of these four can make it to be either the seventh or the eighth seed, which makes it really difficult to do these predictions because there is so much uncertainty. The Lakers could very well beat the Pelicans tonight, and vice versa. There are a few matchup issues that are at hand for New Orleans, although they have a spectacular array of defenders, notably Trey Murphy and Herbert Jones. Who is going to guard LeBron, which is, of course, the question that every NBA coach has been asking for the past 20 years. You have JV who can match up against Anthony Davis, but how effective is that matchup going to be? And the Pelicans, despite being an elite defense, are in that weird in between in terms of defensive matchups. However, we cannot overlook everything that this team did early on in the season when they were healthy, and some considered them a dark horse championship contender because they play defense and they have dudes that can get buckets. With all of that said, it's always difficult for me to go against my sunshine, my only sunshine, who makes me happy when skies are gray. I am, of course, talking about my Le Pookie Bear, LeBron James. I think that they go ahead, they beat the Pelicans and face Denver in the first round. The Pelicans, in this hypothetical scenario, go to play the winner of Kings Warriors. I really do not know who to pick for this game because I don't want to bet against Steph Curry. But the Warriors are, although they are playing good basketball of late, are they going to revert to old habits? I very much highly doubt it. I do not think that Steve Kerr is going to brain fart on the sideline and start coaching like it's December 13th again. I also find it exceptionally hard to bet against Steph Curry, who very well can put up 110 points in these two games to get Golden State into the postseason. I really don't want to bet against Sacramento because they've had a tremendous fall, and it really sucks because they are a fun team to watch. Mike Brown is a great coach. However, I think I'm rolling with the Warriors to upset the Kings. It would technically be an upset, and then I'm going with the Pelicans. I'm going with the Pelicans to be the eighth seed, the Lakers to be the seventh seed. It would play out. Thunder, Pelicans as the 1-8 seed. We then have Clippers and Dallas, the 4-5. The 3-6 is Minnesota and Phoenix. And then the 2-7 is Denver and the Lakers. Full disclosure, I think that the Denver Nuggets are the best team in the Western Conference. They are not the number one overall seed, but to me, they are the most cohesive and the most balanced unit in the Western Conference. Additionally, they are also the best team in the NBA post All-Star break when sorted by win percentage, tied with the Boston Celtics. Both of these teams went 21-6 after the All-Star break, and the Celtics are, of course, like a historically great regular season team. I just think that Denver, you have Jokic, you have Jamal Murray, who is going to turn into playoff Jamal Murray very shortly, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, KCP, Michael Porter Jr. They have it all, man. They have it all. That's not to say that it's going to be a walk in the park for them. There is so much parity in the Western Conference this year that it's tough to say who is clearly the best team because you have Oklahoma City, who very well could make a championship run. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is great. First team All NBA. Going to be in my top three for NBA MVP voting. Jalen Williams is blossoming into a star. You have Chet Holmgren, who is fantastic on both ends of the floor. And you also have a coach in Mark Daigneault who has built a very clear identity for this unit and an identity that they do not waver from. Even when SGA doesn't have it, they can get points from somebody. And that is huge in the postseason when you're going to need your second, third, and fourth guys to have big performances. There's also, of course, Minnesota, who was the one seed for a majority of the season, most notably before Cat went down with his injury. They have the two stars, Anthony Edwards, who is spectacular, and Towns, who of course is also spectacular. They also have something that no other team has in the West, and that is two 7-footers to match up with Nikola Jokic. I'm looking at this as you're going to see Jokic at some point if you're Minnesota, and by some point I mean in the second round because that's how the bracket plays out. But you can stagger those 2 minutes so that Jokic always has to go up against one of these two 7-footers. However, when you do wind up playing Cat and Gobert at the same time, what is the rest of that defense going to look like? How are they going to match up? Are you going to put Cat on Aaron Gordon? Are you going to put Gobert on Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr.? It's going to get really interesting to see how these coaches balance these matchups. Even with all that said, I do think that this is Denver's conference championship to lose. Additionally, we have a super exciting matchup in the 4-5 with the Clippers and the Mavericks. The Mavericks are playing spectacular basketball post All-Star. Luka is on a generational run right now. Dallas, 18-9 post All-Star. They've pulled themselves out of the play-in race and secured a matchup with the Los Angeles Clippers, who, of course, are very much accustomed to getting digged down by Doncic. I think for his career, he's averaging like 34 points per game against the Clippers in the playoffs. He just is, he's insane. Kyrie is there as well. We can't forget about him. I think ultimately what's going to make or break Dallas's hopes in these playoffs is what version of Tim Hardaway Jr. do they get? Do they get Tim Hardaway Jr. that shoots 38% from the field or Tim Hardaway Jr. that shoots 43% from the field? If THJ is able to reach that threshold, I think it opens up Dallas's offense considerably. You have Daniel Gafford on the inside as well, who brings a tremendous presence to match up against somebody like Ivica Zubac, or if you're able to see Jokic in a potential conference finals, you will have a body to at least throw at him, so that way he's not just shooting over Maxi Kleber and PJ Washington all game. But ultimately, Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to dictate the Mavs' playoff success because we know that we're going to get anywhere from 50 to 60 points a night from Doncic and Kyrie. It's, as I already mentioned, the third and fourth guys who are going to elevate your team. We, of course, also cannot talk about these playoffs without another generational talent being Kevin Durant. The Suns, for me, they just do not stick. I, for whatever reason, am not confident in this team. I think that they mortgaged a lot to get Bradley Beal, and the trade-off is not the same because you are without a true point guard. Although Devin Booker's passing has improved considerably throughout his time in the league, he's still score first. Bradley Beal is, of course, score first. Kevin Durant is score first. Yusuf Nurkic is a fine player. Eric Gordon has given them solid minutes as well. Royce O'Neal, who came over from Brooklyn, but they just don't seem to have an identity. And that is a very meathead talking point, but it's true. If there's nothing that your team can fall back on in the postseason when you need it, it's very difficult to have success because relying on a singular player is only going to take you so far unless that singular player is LeBron James. And even LeBron James, the Lakers have, like, when the Lakers need a bucket, you know that they're running that 4-5 pick and roll. When the Denver Nuggets need a bucket, you know that Jokic is either going to be in a pick and roll with Jamal Murray or they're going to run an action from either the top of the free throw line or the top of the key. OKC, as I mentioned, drive and kick. All of these teams have an identity. Even Minnesota, their identity isn't so much an offensive one, but they're an elite defense, and I think that Rudy Gobert is going to be the defensive player of the year. Not to spoil my selections, but all of these teams have like a trait that you can attach to them. And beyond Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, I just do not see it with the Suns. I think that it's going to come down to personnel for them, and they simply do not have the personnel to match up with Denver, Minnesota, OKC. They have the star power, definitely, but when every team has star power, it's like nobody has star power. Now for the Eastern Conference. I don't want to talk about the play in. It is so fucking dumb that the Hawks and the Bulls have a chance to go to the postseason. Why? I understand the theory of the play in, but when your ninth and your 10th seed are 7 and 10 games back of the 7th and the 8th seed, what the fuck is the point? There's no, they have not done anything throughout the year to be considered a playoff team. It's different in the West because only 3 games separate those 4 teams. But the Hawks are 10 games under 500. Even when Trae Young was healthy, no one was like, yeah, this is a legitimate playoff team. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. But they don't deserve to be here. So with that, I'm going to predict Philly and Miami as the 7th and the 8th seeds, respectively. Even with that, I still think that Boston is far and away the best team in the conference. I don't know if anyone in the East can take them down. I think Philly, the Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey pairing is an elite one. They've won like 80% of their games together this year. And the Sixers were legitimate contenders when Embiid was healthier earlier in the year. Also, when Embiid was healthier, he was pretty much running away with the MVP award. He himself, or I don't want to say he himself, but his body prevented him from winning the MVP. Still, you have Nick Nurse, who's an exceptional head coach. Kelly Oubre, B-Ball Paul, of course. DeAnthony Melton brings a much-needed presence on the perimeter. They do have a very good team who I think can also match up very well with the Celtics. I do think that it's going to be significantly harder because Maxey is going to have to deal with Drew Holiday and Derek White and potentially even Jaylen Brown, but they have the talent and the coaching to do it now that Doc Rivers is fucking up the Milwaukee Bucks. Additionally, I don't want to discredit the Knicks and everything they've done this season. Jalen Brunson might be a top 5 player in the league. I would not argue if someone brought that point up to me. He's been exceptional, especially when you consider the fact that Julius Randle's been hurt, OG Anunoby has been hurt. I do expect to see the Knicks and the Sixers in the first round, which I think is going to be some of the most toxic internet exchanges that the NBA postseason has to offer. But I'm also not discrediting seeing Miami, which would also lead to a lot of toxicity because the Miami Heat always seem to be in like this weird spot where no one's discrediting them as contenders, but no one is like actively saying that Miami is among the elite teams in the conference. However, on paper, they have all of the makings of a championship contender. Bam Adebayo is among the best defenders in the league and is also a very serviceable player offensively. Tyler Hero is healthy. Jimmy Butler is, of course, Jimmy Butler. Jaime Jaquez has been giving them quality minutes. One of the Martin brothers, I always forget which one plays for the Heat, which one plays for the Hornets. I'm sorry. It's because they're twins and I'm bad with names. They have a very good team. And of course, this team is just coming off of making a finals run. Anything can happen in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference, but I still think that when it comes down to it, the Celtics are just simply better than everybody else. You're not 14 games up on the 2nd seed by accident. You have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, Derek White and Drew Holiday. I saw a TikTok where this guy did a data visualization of the 20 best defenders in the NBA, and the Celtics had like 5 guys on the list. They've built the perfect basketball team. Not only are you going to get, 25 to 30 from your two stars, but you have Drew Holiday, a legitimate facilitator, lockdown defender, effectively Marcus Smart gone Super Saiyan. You have Derek White, who's an elite defender as well. You have Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser bringing you shooting. off of the bench. And then, of course, Al Horford and Porzingis being the back end of your defense, as well as Porzingis being able to not only stretch the floor offensively, but play out of the post. They're just the best team in the NBA. Beyond that, yeah, as I've already mentioned, it is the Celtics conference title to lose. And if you have managed to surmise, I am predicting a Celtics Nuggets matchup in the finals. I'm not going to delve too much into that now because there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that can happen. Both of these teams could get upset in the first round. I think it's highly unlikely, but it is possible. It's the NBA playoffs. Anything can happen. My conference finals, which I think is a little bit more realistic, I'm going Boston, Philly in the East, and Denver Thunder in the West. I am not, however, counting out Luka Doncic to make a conference finals run. Even potentially make, maybe not an NBA finals run, because I still think that the Nuggets are not considerably better than Dallas, but marginally better, and they would win in a 7-game series, I think. But I would love to see Luka and Jokic in the conference finals. I think it would be great for basketball. It'd be great for the fans. It would not be great for Gilbert Arenas seeing two Europeans battle each other, but I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun. However, it's going to be tough to beat Oklahoma City. I'm not discounting them because of their youth, because back in 2012, that Thunder team was also very young. And again, they have the talent, they have the philosophy, they have the coaching. If youth is your only red flag, I don't think that should be too much of an indictment on you. Maybe in the finals, it would be different, but I think that they can not cruise, but they can lean on their talent a little bit more early on in the postseason. I didn't touch on Cleveland or Orlando. I don't imagine either of these teams making a deep run. I do think that the Magic will upset Cleveland in the first round. The only limiting factor against them is I don't think that the Magic's core is has peaked yet in terms of talent, but everything that Jamal Mosley has done with this team, what Paolo Banchero is turning into, what Franz Wagner is turning into, they play hard. They play good, hard basketball. They play like playoff intensity basketball in the regular season. I mean, Banchero was crying after he had a game winner to beat Detroit. Imagine what this dude would do if he hit a game winner to beat Cleveland, even if it were in like game 2. I'm going to go ahead and close this video. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description box below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you do any of those 3 things, you will become my new favorite person. And with that, I will catch y'all in the next one.